What can one visit achieve? Well, if you're an isolated wartime leader, a lot. I'm talking about Vladimir Putin. He has wrapped up his much-hyped Asia tour. He visited two countries, North Korea and Vietnam, and tonight we're looking at the fallout. What has changed after Putin's visit? Well, South Korea is spooked. Moscow and Pyongyang have upgraded their ties. They now have a mutual defense pact, meaning Russia could give weapons to North Korea, maybe even strategic technology, which is why South Korea is lashing out.
And I would like to emphasize once again that any direct or indirect assistance or cooperation that enhances North Korea's military capability is a clear violation of the multiple UN Security Council resolutions. And it is indeed deplorable that a permanent member of the Security Council, which had agreed to the adoption of these resolutions, is now acting in violation of the resolutions.
Beyond the statement, Seoul has made two moves. First, they summoned Russia's ambassador. A formal protest was lodged. But the second move is even more important. South Korea is thinking about sending weapons to Ukraine. And this would be huge. Seoul has promised some $2.3 billion for Ukraine, but that is non-lethal aid. Nothing that can harm Russia or its soldiers. Non-lethal aid, $2.3 billion. But now South Korea is rethinking that, sort of like a tit for tat. You give weapons to our enemy, so we give weapons to yours. And Putin is not happy about this. He says arming Ukraine would be a serious mistake.
As for the supply of lethal weapons to the war zone in Ukraine, that would be a very big mistake. I hope that this will not happen. And if it does happen, then we will also take appropriate decisions, which are unlikely to please the current leadership of South Korea.
So Putin has stirred the pot, and things are already escalating. On Thursday, North Korean soldiers tried to cross the Korean border. In response, Seoul fired warning shots. It was a third such incident this month. You also had joint drills. South Korean and American warplanes combined forces. They practiced live fire exercises like firing laser-guided bombs and launching air-to-ground missiles. Basically, they tested their preparedness. But it's not just Korea. Putin made moves in Vietnam as well. The US is hoping to cultivate Vietnam as a key ally. Last year, Joe Biden visited this country. He upgraded bilateral relations with Hanoi. But Putin's visit has complicated matters. It has certainly made one thing clear: Vietnam will not abandon Russia.
There is a Russian proverb that all the money in the world cannot compare with a friendship, and one old friend is better than two new friends. The Vietnamese people are always deeply grateful and remember the close and loyal feelings of Russian friends in the context of many complicated developments in the world and region.
How about that? Vietnam's president used a Russian proverb to praise Russia. That doesn't sound like a US ally, and none of this is random. It's all part of Russia's long-term plan. There are three parts to it. The first is to tie the US down in Asia, whether it's in the Korean Peninsula or in the South China Sea or in Taiwan. If Biden is more focused on Asia, he is less focused on Ukraine. That is Putin's calculation.
We see what is happening in Asia. A bloc system is being put together. NATO is already moving to Asia as if to a permanent place of residence. This, of course, creates a threat to all countries in the region, including the Russian Federation. We are obliged to respond to this and will do it.
And he's right. Biden is sending a high-ranking diplomat to Vietnam this week. Why? To shore up the partnership. The second part is weakening America's Asian alliance. Two countries are key to this: South Korea and Japan. By visiting Pyongyang, Putin has already spooked Seoul. His next target is Japan. In March, Russia held military drills in the Sea of Japan. They've started another drill this week, again near Japan. Reports say around 40 warships, 40 warships are involved. Moscow is also reopening an old territorial dispute. It concerns an island near the Russian Far East. It's called Kuril Island. Russia occupies it, but Japan claims it. Last year, Moscow banned foreign ships from sailing near the Kuril Island. They basically told Japan, stay away. So Russia's strategic goal is quite clear: keep needling America's allies and eventually weaken their support for Ukraine, which brings us to the final part of Putin's plan: his pivot to the east. You see, Western markets are shut for Russia. Western investments are also not an option. So Putin is pivoting to Asia. Russia is the top seller of weapons to Vietnam. Meanwhile, India and China buy most of their energy. So Putin knows that his future lies in Asia, hence the focus. Of course, this is Putin's best-case scenario. Things could also backfire. His Asian adventures could embolden America's allies. It could make them more anti-Russia. I guess that's a risk that he's willing to take. But either way, one thing is clear. Putin's designs have just made Asia even more dangerous. We will see more military exercises, more defense spending, and more saber rattling. On the show today, the T20 World Cup Bangladesh has moved across to the West Indies. What can you expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
Start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. For the first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost.